Chapter 9. The White Roses. Jeannie sat down beside the well. She wished her 3 wishes: to see Randal, to win him back from Fairyland, and to help the people in the famine. Then she knelt on the grass and looked down in the well water. At first she saw nothing but the smooth black water with little waves trembling in it. Then the water began to grow bright within, as if the sun was shining far, far below. Then it grew as clear as crystal, and she saw through it, like a glass, into a new country. A beautiful country with a wide green plain. In the midst of the plain, a great castle with golden flags floating from the tops of all the towers. Then she heard a curious whispered noise that thrilled and murmured, as if all the music of the trees that the wind blows through the world were in her ears, as if the noise of all the waves of every sea, and the rustling of heather bells on every hill, and the singing of all the birds were sounding, low and sweet, far, far away. Then she saw a great company of knights and ladies dressed in green, ride up to the castle, and one knight rode apart from the rest, on a milk-white steed. They all went in the castle gates. This knight rode slowly and sadly behind the others, with his head bowed on his breast. Then the musical sounds were still, and the castle and the plain seemed to wave in the water. Next they quite vanished, and the well grew dim, and then grew dark and black and smooth as it had been before. And still she looked, and from the little well bubbled up with a sparkling foam, and so began still again, like a mirror, till Jenny could see her own face in it, and beside her face came the reflection of another face, a young man's, dark and sad and beautiful. His lips smiled at her. Then Jeannie knew it was Randal. She thought he must be looking over her shoulder, and she leaped up in a cry and glanced around. But she was all alone, and the wood about her was empty and silent. The light had gone out of the sky, which was pale like silver, and overhead she saw the evening star. Jeannie then thought all over. She had seen Randal as if he had been in the grass, and she hardly knew him. He was so much older, and his face was so sad. She sighed and turned to go away over the hills and back to Fairnilee. But her feet did not seem to carry her the way she wanted to go. It seemed as if something within her were moving her in a kind of dream. She felt herself going on through the forests, she did not know where. Deeper into the woods she went, and now it grew so dark that she saw scarce anything. Only she felt the fragrance of briar roses, and seemed to hear that she was guided toward the roses. Then she knew there was a hand in her hand, though she saw nobody, and the hand seemed to lead her on. She came to an open place in the forest, and there the silver light fell clear from the sky, and she saw the great shadowy rose tree covered with wild white roses. The hand in hers was still in her hand. Jeannie began to wish for nothing so much as to gather some of those roses. She put out her hand, and she plucked one. And there before her stood a strange creature, a dwarf, dressed in yellow and red, with a very angry face. "Hi-yo!" he cried. "That plucked my roses without my will." "And who are you?" said Jean, trembling. "What right have you on the hills of this world?" Then she made the holy sign of the cross, and the face of the elf grew black and went out, and the light went out of the sky. She saw only faint glimmer of the white flowers, instead of a kind of shadow where the dwarf stood. "I bid you tell me," said Jeannie, "whether you are a Christian man or the spirit of the dreads of the holy sign." And she crossed him again. Now all grew dark as the darkest winter's night. The air was warm and deadly still, and heavy with the scent of the fairy flowers. The blackness and the silence, Jeannie made the sacred sign for a third time. Then a clear, fresh wind blew in her face, and the forest boughs were shaken, and the silver light grew and gained in the darkness, and she began to see the shape standing where the dwarf had stood. It was far taller than the dwarf, and the light grew and grew, and a star looked down from the light, and Jean saw Randal standing by her. And she kissed him, and he kissed her, and he put his hand in hers, and they went out of the wood together. They came to the crest of the hill and the cairn. Far below them they saw the Tweed shining through the opening among the trees, and the lights of the farm of Peel, and they heard the night birds crying, and the bells of the sheep ringing musically as they wandered through the fragrant heather on the hills.